Welcome to Gracefully Graying. I'm your host, Attorney Henry Gornbein. Today on Gracefully Graying, I am very pleased to welcome Anjali Prasad as she discusses her aging parents and her candidacy for the Bloomfield Hills City Commission. Also, I note she's a lawyer and is actually in the Suite 3000 at 4190 Telegraph, which is right around the corner from Bloomfield Cablevision, and is also where I spent a number of years practicing law during my 50 plus year career as a lawyer. Anjali, welcome. First of all, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and your background? And it's
Hi,
interesting.
Henry. Sure. Good morning to you. Thank you for having me. Well, let's see. I grew up in Bloomfield Hills. I raised my kids in Bloomfield Hills. I am an attorney by training. After graduating law school, I took a job. My first job out of law school was with the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, prosecuting local crimes. I stayed there for about 13 years and eventually returned to Michigan when I was offered an appointment as an assistant United States Attorney, Eastern District of Michigan. So I moved back home with my kids, and I was a federal prosecutor for many years. Ended up leaving that position to start my own firm, Prasad Legal, which is, as you said, located in your old office. I now practice federal criminal defense, and I'm running for Bloomfield Hills City Commission. So I have a lot. I'm juggling a lot right now.
Let's start there. Why are you running for the city commission in the city of Bloomfield Hills?
Well, let's see. I kind of launched my career in public service. As mentioned, I was a city prosecutor and then a federal prosecutor. Now, I left public service to work in the private sector for many years. A lot of the reason I did that was to be able to balance work with family. It was just a lot easier managing my own firm. It enabled me to get to where I needed to be for my kids' schedule. But with my youngest child graduating Bloomfield Hills High School this year, um, it leaves me with both a hole in my heart, but also a hole in my schedule, and it gives me the opportunity to get back to the public service work that I have always valued and cherished. And I thought, with three generations of my family living right here in the city of Bloomfield Hills, this was the perfect place for me to kind of return to public service. I know it sounds cheesy, but I will tell you, I felt that I heard the calling to serve the community and I answered it.
Are there many candidates running?
There are 6 candidates running for 5 positions.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. What does Bloomfield Hills do to welcome seniors?
Well, I pulled the census data to understand how many seniors actually live in the city of Bloomfield Hills, and it's about 25%, which is very significant. I can tell you that Bloomfield Township has the senior center, which is open to Bloomfield Hills residents. I can tell you that we have Bloomfield Hills residents can use and check out books from the Baldwin Library, which is a just spectacular library in the city of Birmingham. And the reading room's great. We have full use of their services. That is great. Now, we also have use of the Bloomfield Township Library, but we can't check out books from them, but we could still go there, use the reading room, etc. And my parents, as you know, are in their kind of mid to late 80s, and these are the types of things that they like to spend their time doing. They like to get out to the senior center, or if not the senior center, another similarly situated venue where they can move their body a little bit. And then they like the atmosphere of kind of a cozy library, which is quiet. The staff is helpful. There's plenty of material to engage them mentally, things like that.
Angela, you're part of the sandwich generation. You have children who are, well, they're not quite out of the nest, I guess, getting there. And you have parents who are, you know, getting up there in age. How can we help our parents age gracefully?
Well, we have to be patient with them. And I say this as somebody who's not often patient with them. Um, they move slower, they hear with more difficulty, and it takes them a little longer to process your sentences. And this will happen to us eventually. So we have to exercise patience. And I am not always the most patient person in the world, but I'm aware of it. And so every day I begin my day praying for more patience in my life. Um, what else can we do? My kids, if there's grandchildren in the mix, I think that's very, very, very good for our aging population. It keeps them engaged, it keeps them active, keeps them, makes them feel part of the process. For example, my son might come home from school and get right to his homework and whatnot, but my dad and my mom will pull him out and be like, how was your day? Take us through everything. What happened in math? What happened in English? What happened at lunch? Because just that personal connection with a youthful person, I think, does invigorate the elderly population. I mean, people in the sandwich generation like me, we have a role to play, but I think if we can get the elderly population connected with our youth, it's very beneficial for both of them.
Anjali, let's talk about physical activity as people are aging. How do we help them with that?
Okay, so not long ago, my mother had a guest on her program called Health Talk, also on Bloomfield Community TV. And I learned something from that guest. She had talked about physical exercise with the aging population. And what I learned is weight training is very, very important. Now, I'm not a doctor or a scientist, so I'll speak as a layperson. From what I understand, as we get older, our bones deteriorate, so that weight training and muscle movement becomes more and more important. So while our elderly population might think, okay, let me go to aerobics or water aerobics or maybe do the exercise bike. I have to tell you, but I'm now thinking that it would be good to encourage our aging population to get into some kind of weight training just to keep their bone density where it needs to be. So I'd encourage weight training. My mom and I take walks around the neighborhood, the fresh air, the walking, it's just very rejuvenating. My dad uses the stationary bike. As a matter of fact, they belong to Lifetime Fitness in Bloomfield Township, but very centrally located to Bloomfield Hills and Bloomfield Township. And the more I'm there, the more I see that they have quite a large aging population over at Lifetime Fitness. And I think they offer courses or offer fitness training for the aging population. So anything to get the body moving like that is very, very important. My dad spends a lot of time in his garden, um, raking leaves, sweeping the acorns, and all this kind of thing, which he calls his therapy. So if you have a home, I don't, or a large, I guess like a large outdoor area, I do not recommend you take it on all the cleaning and maintaining by yourself, but get out there and sweep the acorns once in a while and breathe the fresh air, especially when it's sunny in Michigan. I think it all goes a long way.
I'll pick up on weight training. I'm a big believer in weight training. I've been doing it for many, many years, and my uh, wife and I work out with a trainer on weights specifically, and it's just very important. I mean, uh, my trainer says I'm getting stronger as I'm getting older. I don't know if that's true, but I agree with you. It's important to have a regular exercise routine and not only have cardiac exercise, but also weight training is important for muscle strength and for also other things that are important are stretching to help you with regard to preventing falls and learning how to fall because falls are a major contributor to bone breaks and really speeding up the clock where someone goes from someone who's in fairly good shape to being in horrible shape rapidly. So, what about mental acuity?
Well, it sounds very old fashioned, but I have to tell you, I think puzzles are very, very good for keeping mental acuity alive. If you have a big table and can get a jigsaw puzzle and just do a little bit of puzzling every day, I actually think it's very good. And you're using your fingers too. And it gives, if you have people in your home who can sit around and work on the puzzle, it just brings people together. It gets you thinking, it gets you moving a little bit. Again, I know that's a very old fashioned and antiquated suggestion, but I'm a believer in puzzles, I have to say. What else for mental acuity? My dad and my son play chess. I have two sons. My dad would play chess with both of them. I think that's probably very good mental gymnastics for any age. Um,
Well, card playing too. I mean, I happen to be I play poker and bridge, and those are both things where you really have to keep your mind sharp.
okay, that's a good one. We are not a big card playing family, but I like this idea. I love euchre, and I'll try to introduce euchre into the family.
Also, word games.
Well, when I was growing up, we played a lot of Scrabble, and again, another old school idea. But that might be a real good one if you have three or four people in the home, your seniors and whoever else is in the home. That might be a real good one. And now they make the turntable Scrabble so everybody can sit around and take turns making words. How can it get any better than that?
Well, the other thing besides that, there are a lot of word games on your computers now, so that certain things like seven-letter words, five-letter words, these are things you can play a little every day, and they change from day to day, and they have varying degrees of difficulty. So there are a lot of things that are available, and these are done by the New York Times, so some of them are very, very difficult.
That's
What
a
about
good one.
cooking?
Well, I can say so much about cooking. Um, my parents are very, very active cooks, and they all my life they've spent a lot of time preparing food, eating the food, cleaning up after the food, and then talking about the food. So cooking is a big part of my family culture. But it can get onerous and it can get tiring. And if you're on your feet for a long time, it all catches up to you by the end of the night. If you're I think it's much easier for senior citizens to find folks to dine with early in the evening. And I know a lot of local restaurants have specials if you come in early. Um, I'd like to promote that a little more if I'm on the city commission. I mean, I think we could probably really make a push to invite our senior citizens to dine early at a discounted rate. But I know there's a couple restaurants right off the top of my head who do encourage early dining, and I think it's fun for people to go out, and it doesn't, take your spouse, take your friend, take anybody, and go out for an early evening of dining. Um, we have a few places here in Bloomfield Hills, some very nice Bloomfield Township restaurants, awesome, awesome Birmingham places, although I know parking can be a little bit hectic. But I'm a proponent of, especially if you're retired and you're kind of home and not doing so much, get yourself ready and go out to dinner at 6 o'clock one evening or a couple evenings a week. There's no cleanup, and the food's always going to be great.
What are some of the restaurants who do offer early bird specials that you're aware of? Are there any?
The one I was thinking of is Hyde Park in Birmingham. They have a supper menu and it's three levels. There's like a $25 meal, a $35 meal, and I think a $45 meal. It's a three-course meal. And if you have a dwindling appetite, as my parents do, you can easily share a course. I want to say it's offered between 4 and 6, 5 days a week. So get yourself in there at 5 o'clock and have a great meal. Henry, you probably know some other ones, some other restaurants.
I really don't. I may.
Oh,
My
you
wife
guys,
and I
you
will
guys
think.
cook a lot.
No, we carry out a
Oh,
lot.
okay. Where do you carry out from?
We know the way to the microwave and the carry out. So, what about keeping on top of medical appointments? I know your mother's a doctor. Is your father a doctor as well?
My parents are both retired physicians who you might have heard make the worst patients. So it has been quite a challenge to keep them up on their regular appointments. I might say, hey, it's time for your physical, it's time for this, it's time for that. And like most doctors I know, they don't want to go to the doctor. So that's a challenge. I mean, it's probably a challenge for a lot of people. It's been a challenge for me personally. Medication is a challenge because, you're probably taking a lot of medication. My parents are, eventually I will. So it's really important to keep that regimented. My dad does not listen to me, but I really recommend the little calendar pill boxes. So you put everything in Sunday through Saturday and you remember to take it. Um, my dad doesn't listen to me. He does it his old school way. But if you're looking for advice from somebody who's experienced with aging parents, take my advice, because one night you might forget, did you take the pills or didn't you? Or, you might lose track of it. So just get yourself the calendar of pills, load it up every week, and make it part of your routine without any kind of muss or fuss. But
Anjali,
do make your regularly scheduled appointments, because I'm always paranoid. I mean, if my mom's not feeling well, I'll say, let's go check your blood pressure. Let's go to the doctor. Let's get your blood work. Let's do this. Let's do that. I'm like very, very crazy when it comes to staying on top of medical appointments for them, because I know they don't. Now, for me personally, I'm really into my own medical appointments because that's just my personality. But do stay on top of your appointments, because you don't want an emergency situation because you didn't get your checkup last year.
well, you don't want to wait until an emergency situation. And one thing I've learned, I've talked to doctors, and I've learned it just from my own life as I've been aging. As you're aging, you spend more and more of your time in doctors' waiting rooms and various medical personnel and appointments, and that's just a reality of getting older.
That's the reality. But make your appointments early in the day and you'll spend less time in the waiting room, I have learned.
That's a good point.
I always, yes, try to get in fact, I literally say, what's the first appointment that the doctor has? And if it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, that's what I try to book.
Well, the other thing sometimes I've learned is you get the first appointment right after lunch. That's probably a good time as well.
Oh, that's a good one. Yes. Yes.
Let's talk about some of your career goals as an attorney. I mean, where do you envision your practice in 5 years, 10 years? I mean, you're a solo practitioner, I believe now.
I'm a solo practitioner. It's been just an incredibly good decade. I had said I would do it um, when my kids were in school. And as mentioned, my son is a graduating senior. So I don't know where my career will take me. I'm very interested in public service. A large part of my practice is actually a pro bono practice. I'm lucky that I have the ability to provide pro bono services if and when I feel it's appropriate. Um, I worked for the government for a long time, and everything was very rigid and regulated. And by the clock, 9 to 5, I have to do this and I have to do this. And once I started my own firm, I became a little more relaxed about the type of cases I was taking and what opportunities I was finding. And I think once I became open to where life would take me, life became a lot more interesting. So I love my practice and I love my work, and it's always going to be there. Um, but I am open to opportunity now that I have my kids in college. I'll have, more time on my hands, and I can get back to some of the reasons I actually went to law school, which was public service. So I probably will be looking for opportunities to serve the community, which is, like we said, the reason I'm running for Bloomfield Hills City Commission. So we'll see where it takes me.
Do you have any platform with your campaign? And is this where the election is the first Tuesday in November?
Yeah, the election is a week from yesterday, but early voting has started. So if you are registered to vote, you can go to City Hall in Bloomfield Hills and cast your ballot. I want to say early voting starts today and goes through Sunday. You could also, if you voted absentee ballot, please return your ballot to the ballot box at City Hall, because if you drop it in the mail at this point, it might not get there by Tuesday and then it won't be counted. In terms of a platform, there's a couple little sweet spots for me. I am a former federal prosecutor, and so I, very much support our local law enforcement. To the extent we had surplus funding, I would want to throw it at the Bloomfield Hills Public Safety Department. They are just incredibly on call and incredibly gracious, and probably one of the best aspects of living in the city of Bloomfield Hills is the public safety department. So I strongly support our public safety department. I might as well talk about this kind of idea that's been percolating in my head. It's, as I mentioned, my kids recently graduated high school, and I have a high school senior. And while I've been campaigning, I've talked to a lot of parents who have really incredible high school students, whether they go to the public school system or Detroit Country Day or Cranbrook or International Academy. I feel like we have a real collection of young kids who want to perform service work and be civically engaged. So one of my ideas is to form, I guess we could call it a youth advisory commission. Pick students from the area, again, without regard to what high school you're going to, and bring them in and get them involved with City Hall. Maybe give them a topic, have them present to the commission, find ways to engage them with the community. Because I think when you bring young people in early, bring them in early to civic engagement, you really put them on the right course for the rest of their life.
You've raised an interesting point. Civics, when I was growing up, was kind of an important part of a high school education. And I think a lot of that has gone by the wayside in recent years. But what you can do, I don't know if it's done already, you could literally, as a City of Bloomfield Hills commissioner, you could literally volunteer to come to high school classes in the area. I mean, you've got Cranbrook, which is in Bloomfield Hills. You've got Kingswood, which is part of Cranbrook. You've got Bloomfield Hills High School, and of course, Country Day, which is, it's right outside of, it's in Beverly Hills, but it's close. So these are things that could be done where, as a civil servant, you could, public servant, I mean, you could literally do things by going into classes and, getting people involved. And so this is a
Yeah,
thought.
definitely. And I think, I mean, a lot of this is in response to my high school senior who's very civics oriented. In fact, he encouraged me very much to run for city commission, because he's got that civic mindedness and he's into politics and all this other stuff. But one of my thoughts is bring the kids to the city commission. Let them see how government works. Let them sit there and see what's happening with the citizens. What are citizens complaining about? What do they need help with? How is local government responding? And if they're interested, assign them a task. For example, somebody might come into a commission meeting and say, I have a problem with stormwater, and every time it rains, this happens in my house, and city, I think you're responsible, or I think you need to help me. So if I have somebody on my youth civics panel who's interested, I might be able to say, hey, go research this issue for me. Talk to the resident, talk to the experts, bring me a report, and then present it to me. And guess what? They get to put this on their college application, that they worked with the city commission or presented to the city commission. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Anjali, tell us a little bit more about your show, where you're the producer and host. Tell us.
Yes. So my show is APN Play, Policy and Law. I started it. This is my second year. It was kind of a vague thing in my mind. I didn't know how it was going to go, and I wasn't used to being the host of a program. I've done a lot of interviews. I'm a correspondent for WXYZ, so I'm accustomed to people asking me questions, but I was a little bit nervous about being the person asking questions. So I got into a groove, and people are real interested in coming when I extend the invitation. I have lawyers, I have politicians. It's a nonpartisan program. which enables me to really invite whoever is out there with a political agenda. They can share their agenda, and the audience can decide whether they like it or they don't like it. My idea has always been to educate the audience, and I guess in that respect, also promote civic engagement. So Bloomfield Community Television is an incredible resource that we
Yes,
have
sir.
here, and I know they do a lot of public outreach. They have they go to my son's high school. They promote a lot of really good programming, and I'm grateful to them that to be a part of it. And yeah, it's going good. I mean, or it's going well. I like reaching out into the community, and hopefully I'm affecting some people.
I'm sure you are. It's like, there are so many issues are, and we're right now in some very fraught, fragmented political times. So I don't know if you'd ever like me to be on your show. I could talk about some of the issues that we who are aging face, and some of the purpose of Gracefully Graying is to really analyze and look at all the issues that we face as we're aging or have aging parents. With my guests being people in the legal community, financial advisors, housing experts, medical people, therapists. I mean, it really runs the gamut. There's so many issues that touch upon us, and whether you're in Bloomfield Hills or Bloomfield Township and throughout the state of Michigan, we have an aging population. I think the
Right.
majority of our population are over 55, which is the demographics of my show. So,
Yeah.
but what you're doing is a great public service. I really hope that you are successful and become one of the council members for the city of Bloomfield Hills. And
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
we have a few moments left. What are some final thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers before we sign off, Angela?
Okay, let me think. Final thoughts. Well, in keeping with the theme of your show, Gracefully Graying, as you mentioned, I'm part of this sandwich generation where uh, I have my children and I have my aging parents, and I'm sandwiched in between. So again, I want to I need to practice. I want to preach patience, but I need to practice what I preach, because I get tired of saying the same thing 10 times and I can't be heard. And so I might get snappy or lose my temperament, or lose my temper, and that's not how we want to be treated. When we get to the age of whatever, 80, 90, whatever it is, we want to be treated with respect, and we've earned that right. So we do have to be patient. And I think I said I start every day praying for praying for patience, but it's hard. And so seek support. My siblings have been very supportive. They're not quite as in the thick of it as I am, but they're extremely supportive. I could pick up the phone and say, "Can you believe this? Can you believe that?" Um, and the other thing I wanted to mention was, again, if there is access to grandchildren, I think it really, really helps our aging population. I think grandparents love to absorb that energy of the young generation. I've been very fortunate. My parents have attended all of my children's events from like kindergarten to 12th grade, and they are there. They're at the marching band events. They were at the Valentine's parties when we were younger. I mean, whatever was happening at the school, my parents were there. And I think that helps invigorate them and keeps them connected and active, because as interesting as I think I am, my kids are 100 times more interesting. So please, if there is access to grandchildren, put them with the aging population. I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Anjali Prasad, I want to thank you so much for being my guest
Thank
on
you, Henry. Thank you
Gracefully.
so much.
I wish you best of luck in the race for the council seat, and I want to thank our viewers and, of course, Bloomfield Cablevision and our sponsors for making Gracefully Graying possible. Thank you so much.